Hey gang, so Big White EDC sent me the 01 EDC 01 slider to review. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on it, but more importantly, I'm going to open it up and show you the safest way to change out the balls and springs, because I tried it without watching any other videos on how to do it, and one of the balls are still like on my floor somewhere. Okay, so to start, I am recording this in the middle of a thunderstorm, which may or may not be a good idea. We'll find out, but just so you know, all those extra sound effects are not production value, they are real. So, anyways, let's move on. The 01 EDC 01 slider is my first fully mechanical slider, and guys, this thing is delicious. Like, it's the only word I can think of to describe this thing. I wasn't sure I'd like it. I thought, I don't know if that's going to get on my nerves. I do have the AC EDC mechanical milk cap, but that's a different mechanical feel to it. That's more of a clicker. This thing, like, this is another zipper slider. I kind of call these zipper sliders, like the hold on a sec. The dough sticks. So mechanical deep fried dough stick, the deep fried dough sticks, mechanical slider has that same feel to it, right? Same principle, ball, spring, moving through this groovy little kind of track. And so it makes this really nice sort of zipper sound, but it doesn't extend very far. The 01 slider is, God, man, it's, again, I just come back to delicious. It is such a cool feeling. Like, I play with this thing mindlessly for hours. Now, I will say, though, a couple of things. I wish it went the same length in the other direction. It doesn't. This is sort of the opposite side, and then you have the full side. So you can see how it's almost going twice the length on one side. I'm not really sure why they would need to do it that way, because I've looked inside and everything looks kind of symmetrical, but I mean, people smarter than me have figured this one out. So that's my one complaint. The other complaint, and again, this comes back to how I use sliders. I'm sure I'm not unique in this, but I don't hear a lot of people complaining about it. So when I slide something, I tend to slide up along my finger like that, because I push instead of putting my finger on top. I tend to push on the edge. So when I push on the edge, that pushes the piece down. And what happens is it grinds against my finger. Again, it's a weird thing. It's just the way I do it. But there's got to be some of you out there that do it the same way. Now, because of that, these edges, these little corners here, get pretty sharp. So they do create a hot spot. Same with this little edge here. You can see in the track, it's got a little tooth on it on each side. So I might take some really, really fine grit sandpaper at some point and just sort of smooth those down a little. Because again, when I push, you can see it kind of rubs along my finger, and then you get kind of a hot spot here. Now, it's easy. Come on, focus. See, that's the problem with these cork mats, right? These tinker trays are amazing, but for anybody making videos or for anybody watching videos and wondering why things always go out of focus, it's because of all the fine detail in here, and that's what the camera picks up on. So that's why I typically use just this red matte, because it's a flat color. Camera tries to focus on the smallest detail, which is this. So that's why you've got to like say, okay, grab your focus and then slowly pull out. So anyways, that's just an aside, but Tinker Force trays are awesome. But I wish they were done in flat colors instead of the cork, because for recording, it makes it really, really challenging for our phones at autofocus. So anyways, other than that little digging gripe, it's great. Oh, wait, the only other thing that's weird, you hear that? Trust me, this is not a feature. There is play inside the lid and the track. So you get this like, this loose rattle. It is not loose though. Everything is super tight on here. It's just got that like because the plates, and I guess actually I was talking to Sean Duma, and we were talking about all the different sliders and why maybe this one makes a sound. And he had a good point, which is that it's probably to accommodate all the other different types of plates for all, like, you know, the minor differences in sizes. So I bet you the middle track stays the same, but all the other different plates go on. So that's why there's a little bit of tolerance, I would think. I don't know, it's a guess. But that part's that I don't like. That's really kind of annoying to me. It's a shame that it's like that because it makes it sound like there's a problem. It makes it sound loose. But if you can get past that, this part is amazing. I never slide backwards anyways. I find my thumb doesn't want to do that. But then what I tend to do is flip. So I close, turn, open. It's just one of those sliders that feels really smooth to just kind of like run your fingers up. Instead of like a, you know, like a forceful kind of slide, it's just kind of like opening your hand up. So the play for it is, this is amazing. Now, here's where the nightmare kind of starts. I'm going to zoom in. So we're going to open this up. Now, this comes with a kit, an accessory kit. And I'm going to use their drivers for now just to show you because I usually use my my Musketeer, but I figure we might as well use their tools that they've provided. Okay. Oh, there's that thunder. So we have a couple of different screwdrivers. Now it's kind of weird. It's odd that they've used two different types of screws. There's a Phillips and a Torx, but so be it. And we have springs, screws, and these very important copper fittings. Okay? It's like a tiny little hat. And I'm going to show you why in a minute. So, we're going to start by just taking the lid off. I'm going to move. Oh, a little screw fell out. And I was like, where'd that go from? All right. So we're going to start taking this apart. Now, the first thing we have to do is take off the plates. This is all safe, by the way. Taking the plates off, like the upper caps, totally safe. Not a problem. Okay, and then we slide it to the other side. Ooh, thunder. You guys can hear that. That's pretty loud thunder. I really hope I don't lose power because I'm going to have to do this all over again. Okay. Now these screws can be a little tricky sometimes, a little stubborn. I've noticed. Get out. There we go. Here, I'm just going to move the tray a little bit. All right, so now we have all 4 screws from this cap taken out. Now this comes off really easily. That's it. It just pops off, no problem. So what we're left with, and if you'd like, I will take off the other cap as well, so that we're dealing with just the track. Now this cap is really just cosmetic. And these screws are pretty small, so they're usually out after like a few turns. Okay, and then the short side. So we have to take off the cap to expose the inner track. That thunder. This was probably not a good idea, but makes it kind of exciting. It's like I'm racing against Mother Nature. All right, so let's take off our other cap. Come on. Okay, so now we just have our 2 caps. Put them up here. And we're left with the two sort of bare sides of our slider. Now, I'm only going to take off one of these because we only really need to take off one to show you how to do it properly. Now, each side, let me go off to the side. Each side has a couple of balls on springs pushing outwards and pushing into this little track, right? And you hear that? That's where the sound comes from. That's just the balls running along that track. So it's the same on either side. So I'm not going to take that off of either side, but here's what I am going to do. So I will take out this middle post first because these guys sit in this like little groove here on each side, right? It just sits in the track. And in fact, if I show you this way, you can really see it. Okay. So it's just sitting in the track. And the only thing preventing it from sliding all the way off is this center post. That's the post's job. All it does is it prevents it from sliding left or right. And that's why it can't pop off because it's sitting on the track. So we're going to take this off. Okay. Now we are still safe while we're taking off the center post. Nothing is going to go flying yet. Okay. My post. Now, nothing will fly yet. I'm going to push, and if you're trying to open this, you're going to experience this yourself. You're going to be moving this along, and then keep your eye on these holes here. Okay? The two balls have popped up into the holes. Now, when I first got this, I thought it was stuck, and I thought, oh, something's going wrong. I didn't notice that the balls had actually popped up right into the holes, because normally they're used to moving along this groove, right? So they're doing their job. But that makes it really tricky. There's two things you have to do. First, you need, where are we here? Some kind of tweezers or something so that you can push both balls down at the same time. So I use these and then I just push and I slide it forward. But the other thing you have to do, and this is the lesson I learned way too late, is you want something to cover these holes. So when I did it, I had these pushed down and I was only focusing on pushing the balls down and sliding the plate off. And then when I did, it was like a cannon shot these two little balls out into space. Like these went flying, the springs went flying, they went all over. So what I learned is I have to push down, first of all, to get them out. But then also as I'm sliding, okay, I have this plate is sitting on top of the balls and springs. Now, if I very slowly lift up, oh, you heard them moving. They still want to jump. Look at that. So they did pop out. Okay. Now I'm going to show you what we're dealing with here. So what we have here, let's take them all out. So what we have is a spring, okay, and these little gold, whatever they are, brass, I'm not sure, but these little caps, they look like a little hat if you see them from the side. Let's see, can I get them from the side? That's a bit tough. It's even tougher if I don't actually have it in front of the lens, you dope. Okay, so on one side, it's almost like, it looks like a tiny, tiny little hat. Let's see if I can get these in the tweezers. Okay, see how there's a rim and then there's a tiny little kind of protruded, oh, come on. There's a rim and there's a little hat. So what that does is the hat sits upside down and it nests inside the spring. So you put the spring in, okay? Then you put the hat on it, on top of the spring. and then the ball sits in the hat. Now I'm going to try to turn this sideways to see if, try to let you guys see it without it falling out. Maybe my fingernail will hold it in place. Okay, so see how the spring is in there and then the little hat sits inside the spring. I know that's not very clear, but it's hard when these things are so small. That's pretty good though. And then that acts as like this little bowl that the ball sits in. Okay. Now here's one thing to be really careful of. If you get the ball caught in here, which I've done, you're going to need a magnet to get it out because it sits right in the hole, depending on where this is sort of opened up and how deep that hole is. Okay, so we'll go with the spring. Their other hole. Now I just heard a truck pull up. Maybe I'm getting another delivery. Oh man, do you guys get like that? Fidget people when deliveries just take on a whole new meaning. Okay, so now we have spring, hat, ball. And it's important to put it in that order because if not, then the ball's going to sink into the spring and you won't get the same feedback. Now, here is the trick. And again, well, I mean, it's not a new trick. It's the same trick we saw before, but in reverse. So the first thing you have to do, slide the plate on. Line it up. Okay. Take whatever you're using as a flat object. Could be a ruler, could be a tin lid, could be anything. Once you have that flat object, carefully press down on your spring and balls and then slide. And then once they click into place, you know you've got it. Okay, and then use your tweezers again. And then just slide it together. That's it. Now, we'll get our post back in. And we're back. So that's the biggest thing with this is just, oh, the other thing I like to do is I like to find the, like, you see how it goes, it's shorter on one end than the other. And again, I'm not sure why that is, but it's like that on both sides, right? Like it's offset, shorter on this side. So what I like to do, I mean, it's just a personal preference, but so that it's easy for me to know which direction I'm sliding in, I make sure I can read the 0 1 EDC moving out to the long side. Okay, and I mean, these little screwdrivers aren't bad. It's nice that they include it, actually. Like, you don't want to get the screws caught in that track. Like, if the screw falls in here, then you've got to, like, shake it around and hope it comes out, or you just have to take it apart again. Okay, and we go back to the other side. These things are so tiny. Ugh. Okay. Okay. And then we'll just get the other side. Now this side, obviously there's no lettering, so it doesn't really matter what direction you put it in. Let me get this tweezer out of here. Ah. See, what happens is these get magnetized. Even if they aren't designed to be magnetized, eventually something starts sticking. Okay, and go to the other side. Let's all watch Sean work with really small screws. Do you like that when my hand just comes in and like takes over the whole shot? That's good filming. Good framing. Okay, here we are. Now everything's back together. I'm gonna pop out. So that's it. It's really simple to take it apart. It's just also really easy to have a chaotic explosion all over your room with the balls and springs. So you really have to make sure that you use something to keep those balls down. So you have to sort of work together. Tweezers, push the balls in, and then sliding the whole thing out so that the balls can actually slide under the lid. So that's it, guys. Hope that was helpful. This thing is beautiful, though. Like, I wish I had a Starry Night because I used to sing that to my kids. But it's so expensive. And but my goal someday would be to have the Starry Night version of this because I really love this. This is really good. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching.